They came from the edge of the void, in ships the size of cities, forged from alloys no human had ever named. The sky cracked in half the day they arrived, shimmering with strange geometric patterns like the eyes of dying gods. The United Nations broadcast the same message across every channel, every frequency, every satellite that still worked. We are under attack. This is not a drill. By the second hour, Beijing was gone. New York was burning. London had gone dark. The invasion wasn't conquest, it was extermination. Coordinated, merciless, precise. A coalition of species, dozens strong, each more advanced than humanity by millennia, had united. After centuries of war among themselves, they decided on one final campaign to cleanse the universe of what they called the virus. Us. Humans. They didn't even communicate with us. No demands, no diplomacy, just annihilation. City by city, country by country. Swarms of biomechanical beasts flooded the streets, slicing through flesh and concrete alike. The oceans boiled with strange energy. Satellites fell like dead birds. But in one small valley town, overlooked, almost irrelevant, they found something they hadn't expected. Something they couldn't kill. It began with a scout drone, the size of a minivan, hovering low over the treetops near the ruins of a burned-out village in the Rockies. Its lenses scanned the area. Thermal, ultraviolet, acoustic. There were no survivors. Just ash, bones, and a heartbeat. Soft. Steady. Human. And then, the feed cut. Black. The drone's last recorded image showed a girl, standing barefoot in a circle of unburned grass. Everything around her had been reduced to carbon and smoke, but the space around her shimmered with impossible energy. She looked up into the drone's lens, then smiled. That smile stopped the war. Commanders of the unified fleet reviewed the footage. They sent another drone. It vanished. Then 3 strike mechs. All gone. No weapons fired. No resistance. Just nothing. And then something terrifying happened. She walked. Not just anywhere, but toward them. Toward the nearest outpost, nestled high in the Andes, where alien generals plotted the next wave of Earth's extinction. And she walked barefoot, through fire, through radiation zones, through drone fields and gravity mines. Unharmed, untouched. Monitors scrambled. Alarms blared. Signals clashed. One Karathi commander barked through a translator. All humans are weak. They scream. They run. They beg. Why does this one not die? No one had an answer. They dispatched a squadron of Fazari shock troops. Tall, spider-like creatures with serrated limbs and hive-linked minds. A weaponized evolution. They were known to rip apart warships with their bare limbs. They found her sitting on a stone, watching birds circle above. They moved in. 12 of them. She stood, said nothing, raised a hand, and the sky answered. A bolt of light, not fire, not lightning, but something older. Ancient and alive, ripped the atmosphere open and struck them. All 12 blinked out of existence. No explosion, no blood. Just gone. No trace. Back at command, silence. The coalition realized something horrifying. This wasn't human tech. This wasn't anything they understood. And she wasn't a weapon. She was a message. She moved again. This time toward Paris, or what remained of it. A ghost city under occupation. Surveillance drones tracked her from the air, careful to stay at distance. They called her Unit Anomaly A0. They tried to categorize her power as quantum field manipulation, or temporal destabilization. They tried to measure her, but their machines fried. She reached Paris in 3 days, by foot. When she arrived, the skies over France cleared for the first time in weeks. The air grew warm, the radiation clouds dispersed. Then the humans came out of hiding. Dozens. Then hundreds. Then thousands. Children. Elderly. The wounded. Survivors. They gathered around her like moths to flame. And she spoke. Her voice wasn't amplified, but everyone heard it. "I'm not here to save you," she said, looking over the crowd. "You're here to save yourselves." The crowd was confused, moved, awed. Above, cloaked alien cruisers watched, silent. One coalition admiral whispered through trembling mandibles, "What? Is she?" And the reply came from an unlikely source, a defector. His name was Voral, a Turkan mercenary with more blood on his claws than most Earth armies combined. He'd fought in hundreds of extermination campaigns, but this time, he stopped, watched her, and something inside him broke. He turned on his own, whispered a single sentence that would later be etched into the halls of human memory. "We can kill all humans, but not this one." And he knelt, the first to do so. More followed. The invasion stalled. Not because of war, but because of wonder. Commanders debated. Should they retreat, regroup, exterminate her? They tried. Oh, they tried. A planet breaker cannon was deployed in orbit, a weapon designed to pierce a star's heart. They aimed it at the girl, fired. The skies ignited, and she raised her hand again. The beam fractured, turned, folded into itself like a dying star, and blinked out. Then she looked up at the fleet, as if staring directly into their control decks. And every pilot, every gunner, every commander felt a sensation no alien species had ever known before. Fear. Unfiltered, undiluted, primal terror. Because she wasn't just powerful. She was aware of them, their minds, their pasts, their futures. One commander screamed before tearing off his own exosuit. Another purged their ship's AI. One by one, the fleet began to fall back. Not because they lost, but because they had never known they could lose. The girl walked to the Arc de Triomphe, untouched by dust or time. She looked up at the cracked monument, then turned to the humans around her. Her eyes glowed softly. "You've suffered," she said. "You've burned, bled, died for a world that failed you. But you never stopped being human." A small boy stepped forward. Dirty. Thin. Brave. "What are you?" he asked. She knelt beside him, smiled. "I don't know, but I'm one of you." And that was enough. Because in that moment, humanity remembered itself, not through technology or power, not through war, but through her. Hope. The coalition collapsed within days. Not from battle, but from disbelief. Species who had spent lifetimes defining strength as domination now watched a barefoot girl turn back a galactic fleet without raising a weapon. And worse, she forgave them. When a delegation of surviving alien envoys descended, cautious, trembling, she met them in a field of sunflowers. Unarmed. Alone. One of them asked, "Why didn't you destroy us?" She replied, "Because I saw who you could be." And then walked away. No demands, no throne, no crown. She vanished that night. No one knows where. Some say she was never human at all. Some say Earth awakened her. Some say she was a god. But for those who lived, who saw the ash give way to light, she was something else entirely. She was the reminder that sometimes the smallest soul can shake the stars. And every race, every species, every empire that dared to rise against humanity, from that day forward remembered one truth. You can kill all humans, but not this one. And now, you never will. They built legends around her. Not statues, those crumble. Not holograms, those fade. But stories, spoken in 1,000 alien tongues, passed from system to system like sacred code. They called her the flame that does not burn, the quiet storm, the end of empires. Her image appeared in murals on moons she never visited. Songs were written, some in frequencies only whales could hear, others etched into the orbit of neutron stars using pulse radiation. And yet, she was nowhere. Gone. Like a dream. Earth slowly healed, not from wounds of war, but from the wound of awe. Governments rebuilt, not out of ambition, but with reverence. People worked together, not out of fear, but out of memory. Of her. She became the heartbeat behind a new humanity. Not the old kind, driven by borders and hunger and ego, but a new evolution, not in flesh, but in soul. And still, some asked questions. Where did she go? What was she? Theories spread. One fringe cult believed she was the Earth's consciousness, awakened by extinction. Another claimed she was the final product of 1,000 failed quantum experiments scattered across labs in ruins. One faction of alien scholars believed she'd existed long before Earth was born, waiting for a species foolish enough to provoke her awakening. But those who saw her, who stood in her presence, who heard her voice, they said only this: she was human. Just more. Decades passed. The great fleets that once blackened the skies now patrolled other galaxies, not as conquerors, but as guardians. Not for Earth's safety, but for their own. Treaties were signed not with pens, but with trembling hands. Her name was not written in them. It didn't need to be. Her absence was the law. Yet, humanity had questions of its own. Some believed she would return when needed, others feared her power and buried their awe beneath politics and protocols. But far beyond Earth's orbit, past the remnants of battle stations and abandoned motherships, something stirred. At the edge of the known universe, beyond even the reach of time-fold drives, a signal pulsed. Not a distress call, a summons. Across galaxies, dying stars shivered. Space folded, and something else came through. Not like the Coalition. Older, darker, silent. It didn't announce itself. It didn't invade. It simply replaced things. Entire systems. Gone, as if erased from memory. And when the remaining Coalition remnants tried to scan it, analyze it, attack it, their data returned one word: error. Then nothing. Planets disappeared without impact. Stars winked out as if embarrassed to shine. Laws of physics failed. Time twisted, thought unraveled, panic spread. Fleets rallied, and in their desperation, they whispered her name. But she did not come. Not yet. And so, a desperate envoy was sent to Earth. Not with demands, but with begging. A cloaked ship landed just outside where the city of Tokyo had once stood. Now a great garden, grown by hands that remembered what ash felt like. They asked for her, pleaded, but no one had seen her in over 50 years. Until the wind shifted, until the clouds parted, until the soil breathed. And then, there she stood, just as before, barefoot, calm, unchanged, like time itself deferred to her. The envoy collapsed, weeping, not from relief, but from the weight of her presence. They told her everything. She said nothing, just stared at the sky. Then finally, she spoke. A whisper. It's older than any of you know. The envoy asked, "Can you stop it?" She looked at the trees, the flowers, the grass. She placed her hand on the earth. "I'm not sure this time." Those words struck deeper than any weapon ever forged. "But you stopped us," the envoy said. She nodded. "You still had hearts." And that was the truth, the terrifying truth. The thing that was coming. It had no heart, no soul, no grief, no memory. Just hunger. Ancient, cold, endless. Humanity prepared anyway. Every mind on Earth, scientist, mystic, child, elder, contributed. Ideas, dreams, old myths, untested technologies. Because they remembered, not what she was, but what she inspired. It wasn't her power that saved them last time. It was who they became because of it. She stood at the edge of the new defense ring, gazing into the sky, waiting. And one night, as silence pressed in like a tide, it came. Not a fleet, not a monster, not a god. Just a crack. In the universe, reality split like old paint. Darkness bled through, not black, but something without color or sound. It wasn't here to destroy. It was here to overwrite. And for the first time, she looked afraid. Only for a moment. Then she whispered again, "You don't belong here." And the crack paused. A silence deeper than silence. Then came a sound. A voice, if it could be called that. It said, "You are anomaly. You must be resolved." She took a step forward. Every blade of grass moved with her. Every star seemed to hold its breath. "I'm not the anomaly," she replied. "You are the infection." And then, light. Not bright. Just truth. Poured from her body in waves. And from every corner of the earth, people woke from dreams and knew. They remembered who they were meant to be. Not conquerors, not victims, but guardians. Of each other. Of the flame. And one by one, humans, millions of them, stood. All over the earth. All at once. And something ancient inside them stirred. And for the first time in the history of the universe, the crack hesitated, and the voice said, "You are not one. You are many." She smiled. The wind picked up. Mountains hummed, and she stepped into the sky. Alone. Not as a goddess, not as a weapon, but as a girl. A human, who chose to stand. And when the light swallowed her, and the crack tried to seal, it failed. Because something had changed. Earth had changed. Humanity had changed. Because of her. Because they remembered. Even when the stars fall. Even when the universe forgets. Even when all light dies. There will always be one. One who reminds the dark why it fears the flame. You can kill all humans. But not this one. And now? Not anymore.